episode, let's find out why a delay in Panchayat polls is going to affect the state in many ways. The Panchayat elections are now a hot topic of discussion at every corner of the state. From dragging the Supreme Court into it to finally obliging to conduct the Panchayat polls, the YSRCP government has had a very rough few months. This is not the first time that the Panchayat polls have been delayed. In 2018 too, the then government had delayed it, believing that the assembly elections result in the 2019 would get affected. And now again, we're seeing the same attitude of the ruling government doing that. After the YSRCP government came to power in 2019, the government was supposed to hold the Panchayat elections. But with delays, the Jagan Mohan Reddy government too pushed it. And then there was lockdown and the whole pandemic situation, which further forced the government not to conduct elections. Now, despite the State Election Commission's push last year to hold the elections around February or March, there was absolutely no response from the government. What followed this push from the State Election Commission to hold the Panchayat polls last year eventually became an ego battle between the Jagan Mohan Reddy government and the Election Commission, even to an extent where the Supreme Court had to interfere after the Jagan Mohan Reddy government filed a special leave petition stating that the COVID vaccination drive is underway and hence it cannot hold the polls. But fortunately for the State Election Commission, the Supreme Court refused to be part of this ego battle between the Jagan Mohan Reddy government and the Election Commission. Now we all know that the election notification has come out and nominations are being filed. But let's try to understand how a delay in holding Panchayat polls by the ruling government actually affects a state and its finances immensely. So, the Government of India releases funds every year for panchayats for the development and other activities to be undertaken by these gram panchayats and the leaders locally. And these funds, when the panchayat polls are delayed, get held up. For example, this had happened once in 2018 when at least around 3,200 crore rupees of the panchayat funds were held up by the centre. This was because of a delay in holding the panchayat elections, and that was also the time when the state was undergoing a massive financial crunch. Had the government conducted the polls then, this could have helped the government at least in wading through the financial crisis to an extent. Now, not only has there been a delay in holding the polls for almost a year, but the worsening financial situation in the state and the lack of Panchayat Raj funds is making it further worse under a government that has not been able to create wealth for the state and in fact is indulging in spending on welfare schemes without any thought for the finances of the state. These delays in conducting the elections are not something we have seen in the past. For example, political parties are now holding panchayat polls when it is convenient for them rather than abiding by laws which mandate them to hold the polls. What is worse among all of this is the special cash incentives that political parties are announcing for panchayats that declare themselves unanimous. Having unanimous panchayats works in favor of ruling parties. But there is a problem with this. Having no competition or candidates to contest a free and fair election is always a minus for a democracy. What this also does when a panchayat declares itself unanimous is One, funds could be eaten up by just a few people in the panchayat who are either leaders or part of it. Second, there will hardly be any discussion on the development aspect of the villages or the gram panchayat. Third, authoritarian rule may prevail in a unanimous panchayat against the wishes of the people of that panchayat. YSRCP government has in fact gone further and advertised these cash incentives for unanimous panchayats in newspapers. It is not only the worst move a government can do in order to favor the election on its side, but it is also a bad move because there will not be a free and fair contest. So, here's a lesson for states if they're holding panchayat elections and trying to delay it. If there are no panchayat elections, then there will be no funds coming in for the development of villages. What that also means is no transportation, no roads, no access to good health care or education, and any other amenity that people basically require. But even today, we see that a lot of villages across India lack electricity, safe drinking water, good education, healthcare access, and many such problems. Despite all of this and celebrating the whole 72nd Republic Day and all of that, the gap between the rich and poor is increasing drastically. Going by the logic of our development, the gap between rich and poor has to go down as the time passes by and as development happens. But in India, it's happening the other way around. So, what people need to understand and see with their eyes wide open in this situation is political parties will always push panchayats to declare themselves unanimous because it directly benefits them. But in the long run, it is these villages and panchayats which do not receive funds, and eventually they will get hit by it so bad that either the funds could get misused in some way or they may not receive enough funds to track or plan their development. What people need to understand and think about is, will they have good amenities and focus on development? They need to clearly observe that across India today, unfortunately, development has taken a backseat and electoral success is the only motive of political parties fighting elections today. In such an environment that is focused only on electoral wins, is that all that matters to our political leaders? Is development not crucial for the development of the country? We need to think hard about this. Thank you for watching this video. If you like it, please like, share, and subscribe to my YouTube channel.